Hello, hello everybody. Welcome to this session of Launch Your Dream, UniSat educational program for girls. My name is Tamara, and I'm delighted to be representing UniSat program. First of all, let me introduce you our interviewers. Our second interviewer is Aidana. She is a graduate of Republican Physics and Mathematics School. Our third interviewer is Kausar. She is a ninth grade student of 64 School at Zane. Now we're all delighted and excited to be having a discussion about tech, STEM, and careers with Tamara Zakharia. Tamara Zakharia is an innovation specialist with UNICEF's Office of Innovation. She leads on managing the gender equality innovation portfolio as well as other initiatives. UniSat is a joint educational program of UNICEF and Al-Farabi Kazakh National University. This year, with Dubai Cares support, more than 2,000 girls from Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Uzbekistan will receive knowledge from leading experts on aerospace engineering about 3D modeling, design of software control units, software and hardware development skills, communications, and the basics of Linux programming. During the course, the program participants will master the important stages of developing a space and hardware, engineering, design, programming, assembly, testing, and launch. The UNISA's goal is not only to develop the knowledge and competencies of girls in nano-satellite development, but also to improve such skills as teamwork, public speaking and performance, time management, and creativity. Within the framework of UNISAT educational program, UNICEF Kazakhstan and Kazakh National University are conducting a series of online webinars, Launch Your Dream, in blended format, live sessions and recorded interviews, where the graduates of the 2020 NanoSat program will talk to with famous women who have achieved an incredible results in various fields, including STEM and space. To kick this session off, I'm going to introduce you to our girls. The floor is yours, Tamara.
I'm passionate about working towards, so I am delighted to now shift to a conversation with Tamara. Dear Tamara, when and how did you get into technology and STEM?
Sorry, your microphone is switched off.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought it was unmuted. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes, you're audible.
So thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure to meet you, and thank you for the introduction. I am, as mentioned, my name is Tamara. I work with the Office of Innovation with UNICEF. I've been with UNICEF for around 5 years. And to answer your question, how did I end up in STEM and technology? So would you prefer the long version or the short version of that question?
Whatever you're more comfortable with. Would like to hear the long version, of course.
So it wasn't a very straight road for me. I mean, if I go back to university days, I changed majors 3 times in university, so it was never clear to me. I started off with English literature just because I love writing. And then I moved into biology because I always felt like I needed to do something with a purpose to help the world. So for me, becoming a doctor was the straightest road to doing that. But then I realized that I really didn't like chemistry. And then I moved into economics, which I'm fascinated by, just how the world works. And then after that, I worked in a completely unrelated field, which was advertising. I worked for a multinational advertising firm. And then I decided, I had a quarter life crisis and decided that I wanted to do something with some sort of purpose. And to me, I wanted to help people live their lives by doing something that they loved and making an income out of that. And for me, the straight way to doing that was entrepreneurship. So what I did is I then pursued a master's in entrepreneurship and innovation. And that was kind of my first step into the startup world, which was my first step into STEM and technology. So after I did that master's, I co-founded a social enterprise. So I think what I realized is that I really like the entrepreneurial enterprises, but also the social aspect of it. So social entrepreneurship was very fascinating. And we founded a social enterprise, and we got to present it to Bill Clinton. So that was a big deal. So that was something we were happy with. And then eventually I moved back home to Lebanon. So I'm from Beirut, Lebanon, and I founded a company that provided consultancy services to startups in the country, tech startups, different types of services, and also worked with the government to help promote the tech and startup ecosystem. So that's what I got into for a few years. And then by chance, I come across a UNICEF consultancy. They wanted someone to help the country office figure out, so what does technology and innovation mean for UNICEF? And I got really excited. I applied, and I've been with UNICEF since then for the past five years, running innovation programs. With most of them have a STEM focus, because if you're thinking of development these days, it's very difficult to think of development for young people without thinking of STEM, especially young girls. So that's the long version of how I got into technology and STEM.
Thank you very much. And could you please tell us more about your job in tech now?
Sure. I wouldn't classify it as tech, although I do work with tech projects and tech startups. My job is more of an innovation role, in that because innovation can be tech, but doesn't have to be tech, right? So my main focus is so currently what I do at the Office of Innovation is I'm managing a portfolio called the Gender Equality Innovation Portfolio, and that portfolio tries to find really interesting projects that are tackling gender equality issues within UNICEF. And we're supposed to find ways on how to scale that. So just to give you an idea, one of the projects in the portfolio is UniSat. And one thing that's in what the portfolio should do is help UNISAT scale to other countries. So what other countries can benefit from UNISAT, or have an ecosystem that can that have a similar ecosystem that can launch another UNISAT in their country. So that's what I currently do. I feel very lucky to work where I do and do what I do, just because you get to meet really interesting people, really inspiring entrepreneurs, and just colleagues working on amazing projects. So yeah, and some of the projects in the portfolio are tech focused. So for example, one of the projects in the portfolio is quite interesting. It's called Oki. It's a mobile app. And I don't know if you use period trackers. Have you ever used period trackers? So they track your menstruation cycle throughout the month. Yeah. So what one of our colleagues has done is some of our colleagues have launched a period tracker, but that's specifically for very marginalized contexts. So no internet, works on text, has a lot of messaging in there. So it's for maybe younger girls, even without access to internet all the time. So that's, for example, a tech project that I get to work with.
Thank you very much. That was very insightful. And do you have any activities beyond your job that you would like to tell us about?
Activities beyond my job. So maybe just recently, what I've been doing is I've been because Lebanon is going through an economic crisis, a very bad one. What I've been doing outside of my job is I've been volunteering some of my time to entrepreneurs, or not even entrepreneurs, like just people who were employed and lost their job and looking to find another job, just giving out startup support and also resume and career support. So that's something I volunteer with on the side, just because I mean, it all keeps me alive to just feel like I'm continuously giving back. And one thing completely unrelated to my job and completely unrelated to technology, I do pottery. I love pottery, and yeah, I think it's important to, at least for me, to pursue artistic endeavors that aren't just work. So pottery is a sweet escape for me. Yeah, so, and I think it's important for everyone to have an artistic escape. I think it's important in life.
Thank you for sharing. And what do you like the best about your job?
The best about my job. So I think a few things. One, I love UNICEF's mandate in that in your day-to-day, because I worked in the private sector for a huge advertising firm. And then when you have a tough day at work, when you go to bed and you think about your day, all I could think about is I'm exhausted because I spent my day figuring out how to sell more products for my clients. And that was unsatisfying. There was something missing there. There was no purpose for me. You know, when you spend your day 9 to 9 and then you go back and you think about your day, and it was because, well, I wanted to send more whiskey bottles for my client was an alcohol conglomerate. So they have Johnny Walker's, they have all the big brands. And that was just unfulfilling. So what I love one about my job is that it has a purpose. You are serving people, and that's very important for me. When I was young, I always wanted to become a doctor, because when I was a child, my understanding of the world was that you only serve people by being a doctor, because the professions were limited in my mind. You're either a doctor, lawyer, or engineer, and the doctor is the profession that serves people. But then you grow up and you realize there are many different ways to serve. So one, I like that there's purpose. I think purpose is important in life. Two, I love the team I work with and the people I get to meet. They're wonderful. I think that's very important when you choose. I think you choose a manager before you choose a job. And I've been very lucky to have wonderful, inspiring women as managers. So for me, choosing a manager is always more important than choosing a job, and the team is always extremely important. And three, I get to work on and support really innovative, interesting projects. So yeah, I think that's what I really like about my job.
Thank you very much. And can you please share an example or two of things you have done in tech that you are particularly proud of?
Share a thing or two of what?
In tech that you are particularly proud of.
Right. So there's this it's a social enterprise now that I supported. I helped co-found a few years ago. It's called Bridge Outsource Transform, and it started off as an idea that I just really believed in when I first joined UNICEF. And I just pushed through for a good year of developing it basically on my own. And then yeah, and what BOT is, it's this really interesting platform that connects young people looking for remote job opportunities to remote job opportunities. The back end is much more interesting than the front end, and the program is much more interesting. It's a website, but the back end is quite interesting. The back end, how it functions and how it manages the process is quite cool. Yeah, that's something. And today it's a social enterprise. It's raised venture funding. It's still going strong. It broke even 4 years later. So I'm proud that I was able to contribute to something that didn't need me 2 years later.
Thank you. And my last question is if there's a lesson that you learned along the way that you'd like to share.
A lesson that I learned along the way. A lesson that I learned along the way. I think that yeah, it's okay to not have all the answers at once. I mean, it was difficult for me to accept that I didn't have all the answers, and I struggled with that. And I think that it's absolutely normal not to have all the answers. And yeah, that's one thing, to just become uncomfortable with some bit of uncertainty, because that helps tremendously. That's helped me. It helps me now a lot in my job, in my personal life, and just in generally, it just helps becoming uncomfortable with not knowing everything. So that's something that is I know it's quite abstract, but yeah, that is something abstract and something concrete. Reading a book a month helps me a lot. It's always, you always get to learn something new.
Thank you for your answers. And can you tell me, please, have you encountered any challenges along the way? And if so, how did you overcome them?
Challenges along the way. I think that there were many challenges along the way, but at least I've been very grateful to have a lot of support professionally along the way too. But one challenge that I think anyone working in technology and innovation might come across is resistance, because it's something new. Not everyone is going to understand it at once, and not everyone is going to want it. Change is difficult for most people. So when you come in with new ways and new thinking, you're going to face a lot of resistance, and that is something that will create challenges for you along the way. How did I deal? I think you need to have more patience. You need to be able to hold your breath for as long as the challenges have you. Let me just try to phrase it in a different way. I think you need to be persistent, and you need to reach out to people who can help. But persistence is, I was just reading, I just forgot what her name is, the Olympic runner. And I just read today that she started when she was 12 and she reached her goal when she was 34. So that's a lot of waiting, that's a lot of persistence.
Thank you very much. And in your opinion, what skills and abilities girls need to fulfill their potential?
Right. I think girls need, first and foremost, I think girls need to trust themselves and their intuition and their instincts. Because yeah, that's very important. I also think learning how to be creative is very important. I think creativity is one of the most underrated skills. Just learning how to think of things creatively may be one of the most important skills for the 21st century. It's not just me. I mean, most of the reports about the future of jobs, because a lot of the jobs are going to be overtaken by machines, right? Not all of them, but a majority of them will. What machines don't do well yet is they're not creative, and they don't have critical thinking. So I think cultivating creativity and critical thinking are by far the most important skills. And the rest, I mean, the technical skills, it depends what you want to do. Do you want to become a coder? Then, of course, learning coding programs is important. Of course, digital skills are important for everyone. Just being savvy with the basics of the digital world is absolutely is essential. But yeah, and then whatever skills whatever career you want to pursue, the technical skills will differ.
Thank you. I agree with you. And now I would like to know your opinion. Do you agree that COVID-19 have somehow boosted an innovation and science in many countries is grow, or you have other opinion?
I think it's two things. So I think COVID, being a tremendous problem in the world, has forced us to become creative in how we go about things. I think the situation that COVID has created, the fear, the isolation, the everything being remote, I think that's hit creativity a bit, and innovation a bit. And I think Apple published a report about that. I can't remember what company did, but how creative innovation has taken a hit after COVID, because innovation comes from interactions, situations, different circumstances mingling and coming together. And what COVID has done, it isolated us and downsized all our lives, which naturally means, to some extent, the space for innovation has shrunken. But of course, we've had to become very innovative to solve COVID. Specifically, I think in solving COVID, humanity has been very creative because of survival. You have to solve COVID. But I think that all other things but even education, I think everything that all the problems that COVID has created, we've had to be innovative to get past them. But I also think in the long term, what COVID has done has kind of constrained innovation. I hope that answers your question. Yeah. But what do you think? Do you think COVID has constrained or helped innovation?
Honestly, I think some little help the innovation maybe. Yeah. And since this series it's for inspired girls with stories variety of careers, including ICT and the STEM space. Also support their decision to link their studies and work in these fields. And do you have any career or tech advice for girls and younger women in tech?
Yeah, I think that young women in tech have a tougher road than young men in tech because it is a very male-dominated field. So I think that that's something we need to be aware of. And I think my advice is to never think that any star is out of reach, even if it's tech and there are 80 men in the company and you may be the only woman. I mean, there's always a first, there's always someone who opens the path. So I think my advice is don't be intimidated, even if something feels intimidating. I mean, yeah, things might feel intimidating, especially in tech, but I think if you feel like it's your calling, you need to trust your intuition and your instinct and just follow that regardless.
Sure. Do you have some questions to us? Would you like to discuss and make our opinions more clear?
So sorry, could you repeat that?
I mean, do you have some questions to us, to these three interviewers?
Yeah, I mean, what is there something that you'd like to know more? What are your ambitions, or what are your worries, fears? Yeah, I'm curious.
Now I have started doing robotics. I've made some new hobby. It's just programming on Arduino. First of all, I try it on Tinkercad, then I make it on Arduino platform. So one of my goals for this year is to create a real prototype of Arduino. Then I would like to share it with local communities, and if it would be successful, maybe I'll go to some competitions of robotics.
That is fantastic. I wish you best of luck.
Oh, thank you. I'll try my best.
And that's what's important. And maybe maybe a question. I mean, what do you like most about these webinars, about the Launch Your Dreams webinars? Was this helpful? Would you like it to be different?
Can I answer the first question?
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
Yes, it's first up. I want to tell about my hobbies. Honestly, I have a lot of hobbies, and mostly is learning new things. And on the UniSat webinars, we have learning a new thing, of course. And mostly my favorite part is webinars with successful and strong women.
Thanks for sharing. And what do you like to take from that when you're when you watch a webinar with a successful, strong woman? Does that give you confidence, or is it the advice, or what bit of it do you enjoy most?
Yes, it makes me more confident and I very inspired of these webinars. And I like to know how these women's be like very successful like this time. Yeah.
Great.
And to be honest, you're inspiring us due to your stories, that how you have faced with challenges and how you have dealt with them. We just get a great portion of motivation, and it makes us to look forward to our bright future.
That is great. I'm glad my story could be of any added value to you. I'll also post my email here. If you ever want to reach out about something, please feel free to. So it's my pleasure to get to meet you.
Oh, thanks.
I think our viewers and translate have some questions. Could you please answer that? Well, the first question is, what was the most interesting experience that you have in working on gender equality at UNICEF?
Great question. The most interesting experience I've had working in gender equality at UNICEF is one, realizing how big the problem is and how little solutions exist. It's a huge problem and there are very few solutions. So for me, that not in a good way, it was great to know, it was fascinating to understand that, but a bit just realizing how much work needs to be done. And yeah, just working with projects such as UniSat and some great projects in countries like Lebanon and Jordan, Tajikistan, yeah, just a bunch like Kosovo. All of these different countries have interesting projects that focus on gender equality. But I mean, if I'm being honest, it's still very new. I've been in this role for almost 6 months, so it's still at the very beginning. The portfolio was launched almost 6 months ago, no, a year ago. So it's very, very new. And there's still a lot of work ahead of us. So yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, we're curious and interesting. Thank you. And next question, what memorable moments, experiences did you gain from working at UNICEF?
There's so many memorable experiences working with UNICEF. Just wondering, there's so many, I can't even list them. I get to travel a lot for work. That's been great. For example, right before COVID, I got to live 3 months in Panama, in Latin America, because I was working on a project in Panama. I then got to live in Tajikistan for 4 months because I was working on a project there. Yeah, and you travel to a lot of great places and meet really interesting people who are really inspiring in how they want to solve some of the world's most pressing issues for children and young people. So I think, yeah, one very peculiar memory is, and this, I bring it up because this might be interesting for you. I don't know if you know the singer Lipa.
Yes, of course, it's my favorite singer.
Amazing. So I thought this might be interesting. So 2 years ago, we got to meet her because she's one of UNICEF's Goodwill ambassadors. So yeah, she's really cool. She came with her father to Lebanon, and we got to spend 2 days with her. So yeah, that was nice. If you work with UNICEF, you also get to meet celebrities because they are Goodwill ambassadors. So the year before that, I think it was Ricky Martin, and yeah, just that's another perk of the job.
Thank you, very interesting, and I hope I will, and not only me. And then the next question is, were there any difficulties when you changed your job, and how did you manage it?
I think it's about, so it wasn't very difficult, to be honest, because what I always focused on throughout my career was cultivating skills that could be transferred. For example, being able to develop a really, really good presentation, or being able to pitch something really well, or being able to write something well. All of those are skills that can translate from one job to another. So it wasn't very difficult for me, just because a lot of my skills that I focused on cultivating were useful in both jobs. So pulling together a great presentation, being able to explain something really well, being able to pitch an idea, being able to communicate well is very important. It's something I worked on a lot throughout my career. And it's also how you tell your story. So if I'm changing, let's say I used to work in clothes for a fashion brand, and I want to move to UNICEF, and I come in and tell you, yeah, I've never worked with children, I don't know the industry, blah, 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 etc., etc., you're not going to hire me, right? But if I come in and tell you, well, I haven't worked with children directly, but I know how to manage a project, I know how to communicate well with stakeholders. It's about how you tell your story and how you create your skill sets. So I think that just making sure you have something you can take with you from one job to another is really important.
Thank you. And next question is, I really like the policy of UNICEF, how to get to work or internship at UNICEF.
I'm going to share a website with you, and this is where you apply for volunteer. So UNV. Let me just share this with you. So the United Nations has a program. It's called the UN Volunteers Program. I just shared the website with you. And you apply to UNV, and then they distribute these volunteers. So the volunteers are paid. It's not free. I mean, they don't hire people for free. It is paid. But it's called a volunteer. It's more of an internship, a paid internship. And you apply to unv.org, and they distribute these interns among the different UN agencies. So the easiest way for someone who's young to get into UNICEF is through the UNV, UN volunteers.
Thank you very much. And
by the way, UNICEF Kazakhstan is being organized some volunteering companies or projects. I know that.
Sorry?
Because UNICEF Kazakhstan, it has been organizing volunteering projects or volunteering companions in our country. So I've been being a Unicef volunteer, so mostly online. I've taken part at the Inclusive Society project, and they are online and comfortable to volunteer.
There you go. That's more information. Every country has its own program, so yeah, that's another great piece of information for anyone interested.
Sure. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Maral. And the last question is: you are an amazing woman. How to become like you?
That is very, very kind. Thank you for that. I'm very flattered, one, and two, we all have our journeys, right? I think that just follow your instinct. I think what has really stuck with me in life, and I credit a lot of where I am today to that, is when I believe in something, when my gut tells me I need to do something, when I feel something in my heart, I follow it, and I don't listen to anyone. Which my parents weren't the happiest with when I was younger, because that meant I would generally not listen to everyone's advice and pursue what I wanted to pursue. Of course, I made a lot of mistakes along the way, but that's how we learn. So I would say just really listening to your instinct, following it, and persistence, just being able to take a punch and get back up.
Thank you. It's very interesting. And Tamara Zakharia, we would like to again thank you for participating on the webinar. And in turn, we don't say goodbye. We say we meet again with the next interesting guest. Follow and post Instagram and YouTube channel and the UniSat website. Thank you for everyone.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to meet you, and and I hope our paths cross again.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really enjoyed our chat. That was really.
I'm happy that I enjoyed it too. Sorry.
That was really inspiring.
I'm glad I could provide value. I enjoyed it equally, and you are more inspiring. So thank you for your time and all the great energy you brought.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was very empowering.
Have a nice day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.